I'm gonna keep going around that bend out there, down toward Hydaburg again, as far as I can get tonight, and just hit Hydaburg in the morning. 5 o'clock at night, July the 6th. Well, if any luck, I'd get to Hydaburg somewhere around noon tomorrow. I mean, there's a beautiful bay here, but it looks really shallow down at the end of the bay. That looks pretty rocky over there on that side. But then there's that little island right there. And there's a peninsula on this side and a steep beach on the left. It's a little grassy plateau. That looks like the choice for tonight. There's a deer right there and he doesn't see me. Hey, Mr. Deer. What are you eating? Grass? I was gonna have some salad for dinner myself. Pretending like, you don't bother me. Watch, I'll get out of the boat, then he'll get bothered. But yeah, right up there is where I want to camp. Yeah, my kayak's down there in that cove. I think it's a long haul to bring all this stuff up here, but this is going to be high enough to get out of the tide. A big tide range tonight again. I don't see any bear scat. There'd be no reason for a bear to be out here. I just put my tent out here on this nice cedar pad. A little breeze blowing in, but that's all right. I think the tide's going to come right up to this grass tonight. It's going to be a good 24-foot tide range right now. Usually where the moss ends is the delineation of the very highest tide, which would be down about there. And that would also be the place where all these logs start to accumulate. So that looks good. Just a few feet above sea level though. Alright, end of the day. And I'm back down. I'm in Deer Cove. It's this long, deep cove. It's got a lot of grass at the backside of it. But if I camp back there, I'd have to drag hundreds of yards. Take a couple hours. So I'm out here on an island near the mouth, which is much steeper. Up at the top of the island, where I've got moss bed, my favorite, under cedars. So yeah, look at that. It's just like big carpet. So I'm gonna have a nice thick pad under me tonight. And believe it or not, the tide is gonna come all the way up to the back end of my kayak from down there. Brutal tide changes this right now. And it's kind of misty, cool this afternoon. And you can see the snow up there still. It's not even 1,200 feet above me. After 4th of July, and there's still snow in the mountains in southeast Alaska. A really cold, wet year up here. Got my little tent set up, and I'm cooking right in front of the tent. The kayak there, and then right across from the kayak in the next cove, Mr. Bear. Looking through the rocks. Working his way around the shoreline. So, I guess if he wanted to, he could come over here. Maybe. I don't know if this cove must go all the way around. But generally they don't. I'm not going to worry about it. It's too many bears to worry about. They must have had cubs already though. It looks a little two-toned or something. And it's got a molted fur. Well, it's getting cold. It's getting late. I'm ready for bed. Well, July 9th. It's about 7:30 in the morning, and I'm in no hurry to get out of bed. I bet you can guess why. It has been coming down all night, and this is a lot calmer than it has been. The winds were blowing probably in excess of 35 knots across the top of this plateau and nearly flattening this tent for about 7 hours. So it was very severe winds. I thought the tent was going to come down on top of me for a while, but I listened to the radio last night and it says, well, it doesn't say much, but it didn't talk about any big storm systems throughout the west. It talked mostly about fires. So at this point, I'm going to assume it was a local weather event. I'm going to eat breakfast and get dressed in my very wet dry suit and try to push on toward Hydaburg. Alright, I'm leaving my campsite up on a little island. It's been extremely wet all night long. Winds probably gusting to 40 knots at one point. Seems like the worst of the winds are over because the bugs are out. And the clouds are hanging like fog in the mountains again. And the rain stopped. So maybe it was a one-night weather event. So it's about a 15-mile paddle. Shouldn't be very severe. If I stay on it, I should be there by 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And try to arrange a ride because I'm 3 days out from the next ferry home. If I miss that one, I'm here for another week. First stop of the day, grab some water. There's a little fawn up there. I just ducked under a log. That's the first fawn I've seen. Tiny little deer. He lost his mother for a while. I was zipping back and forth. But this is a good beach to stop at. It's got a real low profile and a steep bank over there. Tide's coming in, so I can put my kayak up on the steep part and then walk over and get some fresh water. Because I'm down to my last half liter of water. I need to tank up even for the trip around today. Check this out. The bear is just staring at me. He saw me before I saw him. I looked up and he's staring right at me. That's a good looking bear. Working the shoreline for some marine nutrition. We'll call this one Shaggy. Okay. So they think I'm a threat, I guess. I've lost count of how many bears I've seen. It's got to be at least 20 by now. Yeah, that's good enough. Let's I don't want to interfere too much. Little snack break. I'm munching on some almonds. It's a nice little cove. I'm approaching the end of that peninsula. I have to round the corner and head up, which will be nice because I'm picking up the wind from the south. So as soon as I turn the corner, I'll have a tailwind, bucking a headwind and a current against me all morning. I've had to work for this point, but the landscape coming down, shoot through there, I should be able to make my turn and starting heading up and toward Hydaburg. It's just been one squall after another, winds 15, even 18 knots on the nose. Beautiful coastline, but it's been a lot of work to get down here. Several hours to travel about 5 miles. But hopefully when I turn the corner, I'll get all that favorable wind at my tail. So, rounded the cape. Red and white is the end point. So I'm turning up Hydaburg channel. It's cleared up, of course. The wind has died. The tide's probably still coming in a little, so I'll get a little current push instead of fighting the current. There's a building down there. I haven't seen a building for 2.5 weeks. That's a big structure and a dock. Boats. Must be the little old town of Hydaburg. It's been a while. Civilization for the first time in a couple of weeks. Well, more than a couple weeks now. Buildings, hum of noises, automobiles rolling around. There's a little town. I think everybody's pretty much out fishing right now. It's 10 o'clock at night in the town of Hydaburg. And the guy at the general store called around all afternoon and found a ride for me to the ferry tomorrow across the island. So I get to camp out in this empty lot here overnight. I think about everybody in town's been by to introduce themselves and see who I am. But I'm gonna roll out a sleeping bag here, sleep overnight, and at 6 o'clock in the morning a pickup truck is gonna come and pick me up, load my kayak in the back, drive me across the island to the other side so I can make it to my Ketchikan ferry in a few days. Very easy. On the ferry leaving Prince of Wales Island. A hectic 12 hours. Located a ride to the ferry terminal. Got my kayak on the ferry, heading over to Ketchikan. It all happened fast.